Concentrate all your thoughts upon the work in hand. The sun's rays do not burn until brought to a focus. Either you run the day or the day runs you. I'm a greater believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. This is the ideal life. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform or pause and reflect. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Never put off till tomorrow what may be done day after tomorrow just as well. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great. Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it and the writing will be just as it should be. Don't go around saying the world owes you a living. The world owes you nothing. It was here first. I did not attend his funeral, but I sent a nice letter saying I approved of it. God created war so that Americans would learn geography. I was gratified to be able to answer promptly, and I did. I said, I didn't know. Never allow someone to be your priority while allowing yourself to be their option. Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else. Don't part with your illusions. When they are gone, you may still exist, but you have ceased to live. Everyone is a moon and has a dark side, which he never shows to anybody. Clothes make the man. Naked people have little or no influence on society. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is the principal difference between a dog and man. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. Always do what is right. It will gratify half of mankind and astound the other. Always do what is right. It will gratify half of mankind and astound the other. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Kindness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. The trouble is not in dying for a friend, but in finding a friend worth dying for. The trouble is not in dying for a friend, but in finding a friend worth dying for. Education, the path from cocky ignorance to miserable uncertainty. The best way to cheer yourself is to try to cheer someone else up. Name the greatest of all inventors. Accident. The worst loneliness is to not be comfortable with yourself. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence. Then success is sure. The secret to getting ahead is getting started. A clear conscience is the sure sign of a bad memory. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. If animals could speak, the dog would be a blundering, outspoken fellow, but the cat would have the rare grace of never saying a word too much. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. A banker is a fellow who lends you his umbrella when the sun is shining, but wants it back the minute it begins to rain. I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead. Out of all the things I have lost, I miss my mind the most. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. I have found out that there ain't no surer way to find out whether you like people or hate them than to travel with them. I must have a prodigious amount of mind. It takes me as much as a week sometimes to make it up. The most interesting information come from children, for they tell all they know and then stop. Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. The human race has only one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. The Bible has noble poetry in it, and some good morals, and a wealth of obscenity, and upwards of 1,000 lies. The radical of one century is the conservative of the next. The radical invents the views when he has worn them out. The conservative adopt Be respectful to your superiors if you have any. To do good is noble. To tell others to do good is even nobler, and much less trouble. To do good is noble. To tell others to do good is even nobler, and much less trouble. Conservatism is the blind and fear-filled worship of dead radicals. When people do not respect us, we are sharply offended. Yet deep down in his private heart no man much respects himself. December is the toughest month of the year. Others are July, January, September, April, November, May, March, June, October, August, and February. The only difference between reality and fiction is that fiction needs to be credible. The source of all humor is not laughter, but sorrow. I take my only exercise acting as a pallbearer at the funerals of my friends who exercise regularly. It is easier to stay out than to get out. They did not know it was impossible, so they did it. They did not know it was impossible, so they did it. They did not know it was impossible, so they did it. A man's character may be learned from the adjectives which he habitually uses in conversation. A man is never more truthful than when he acknowledges himself a liar. A man is accepted into a church for what he believes, and he is turned out for what he knows. There are several good protections against temptations, but the surest is cowardice. To do good is noble. To tell others to do good is even nobler, and much less trouble. When people do not respect us, we are sharply offended. Yet deep down in his private heart no man much respects himself. December is the toughest month of the year. Others are July, January, September, April, November, May, March, June, October, August, and February. The only difference between reality and fiction is that fiction needs to be credible. The only difference between reality and fiction is that fiction needs to be credible. The source of all humor is not laughter, but sorrow. I take my only exercise acting as a pallbearer at the funerals of my friends who exercise regularly. Habit is habit, and not to be flung out of the window by any man, but coaxed downstairs, one step at a time. A gentleman is someone who knows how to play the banjo and doesn't. Familiarity breeds contempt and children. Civilization is a limitless multiplication of unnecessary necessaries. There is nothing so annoying as having to people talking when you're busy interrupting. It's easy to make friends, but hard to get rid of them. Don't say the old lady screamed. Bring her on and let her scream.